Try to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Total protonic reversal.
Protonic reversal.
Protonic reversal with your host, Conan Neutron. Broadcasting from a secret underground lair in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
A gigantic middle finger to everything that is rotten about music, rock and roll, and corporate power.
The thing is, though, if you don't laugh, you're going to go on a killing spree with sharpened nails.
Confidence of a hero or a fool. I wasn't exactly certain which.
Could not be more professional.
It's only one I choose to devote my life to. That's okay.
It means something. It means something.
And they got away.
You know, that's my take on it. What's yours?
Protonic reversal.
That's like a science thing, right?
Indeed it is. It is a science thing. This is a science place. It is a scientific fact. They were all up in your face. It is time once again for the one, the only Protonic Reversal. Welcome to it, and additionally, welcome to it. Episode 372. That's right. As we close in on closing out year 10 of this show. Going to be talking to some gentlemen shortly. Really excited about this. Returning champion John Wright from NoMeansNo and the incredible Dead Bob, and a newcomer, Jason Lamb, who has written the NoMeansNo. He literally wrote the book on the band NoMeansNo, and looking forward to a joint allied appearance by both of those gentlemen shortly. But before we do that, welcome to Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. I'm your host, Conan Neutron. I'm a rock and roll lifer who has been touring and recording for 24 years, most known for the band Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends. Music is a huge part of my life, and I use the format of this very long-running podcast to talk about music with musicians whose work I enjoy and respect, but may or may not be household names. This is episode 372. Now, if this is your first time listening to the show, archives are available for free. No ads, no sponsors, no kidding. At ProtonicReversal.com. However, if you want to support the show and get episodes sooner, $1 a month at Patreon.com/ProtonicReversal will achieve that goal and help support the show. And if you like the show or even just a single episode, please feel free to like, subscribe on your platform of choice, share around on the internet, and even just leave a review. All of that helps people discover the show. It beats back the almighty algorithmic overlords. It's just a darn nice thing to do. So there you go. This is interesting. I was thinking about this, and I don't think I have ever had. I've had documentarians and their subjects on before, but I haven't had an author and one of the subjects. So of course, what we're talking about is NoMeansNo, from Obscurity to Oblivion, an oral history. And we're doubling up. I got two guests tonight, one of which is returning, which is the incredible John Wright, and Jason Lamb. Let's talk to him right now, actually. Hey, gentlemen. How you doing?
Hello.
Good. Hello.
You guys have been doing a lot of joint appearances, though, right? This is not new for you guys. This is you're running around with this book trying to let the people know like it's a band, right?
We've done a few of these, not a whole lot yet. I think you're only the second or third one so far. We've probably got more coming.
How does it feel, John, to be like, yeah, this is my book. This is a book about my band. This is.
Well, it's actually wonderful that it was done. It was started a long time ago, and as Jason became more and more aware of what a ginormous project that this was actually going to be, that it was looking like it was going to take some time, and has. So,
right.
Yeah, it's really, it's great that it's out, and we're talking about it now, out on shelves as we speak. And,
just like this one.
And and good on Jason for, basically tackling what was a pretty enormous project.
There's a lot. There's a lot of history, and the thing about a band like NoMeansNo is that the people that are NoMeansNo are really into NoMeansNo. So therefore, if you leave things out or give certain areas short shrift, you're gonna be ripped apart. They're gonna rip you apart, right?
Totally.
And it's going to be a lot of time to get all this information, because some of it's going to be deep in punk rock lore. You're going to have to. The research process for this had to be incredible. When did you actually start this project, Jason?
Around the start of the pandemic in March of 2020. It started with me getting a proposal to John, and then him talking to his brother Rob, and them saying, "Yeah, okay, sure, we're into something like this happening." And it was really within a week or two of the whole pandemic shutdown happening. So, 4 years ago, basically.
The labor of love accent on the labor is usually what I say, and I would imagine that's the case.
Yeah. I mean, I knew it was going to be a thing going into it. I don't think I was prepared for just how much work there was going to be, because it just became apparent very quickly that, when you're talking about a band that has, 36 plus year career and traveled the world and made hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of friends and fans,
right?
You got to I realized pretty quickly I'm either going to have to talk to everybody or nobody. I have to.
Yeah. What do you include, right? What do you include? What do you skip? Like, I mean, and again, it's a book, not a mini series, right? So you only have a limited amount of space. But it occurred to me that like the approach, like the love for the subject comes across, right? Like it looks as if it's made by a fan because it's made by a fan. And it seems like it's coming from a good place of celebrating the things that folks know. And kind of bringing out a bunch of like obscure factoids and folks that maybe people don't know if they only know like the broad strokes. It's got a nice balance, is what I'm saying.
Well, thank you.
Have you done anything on this scale before?
I've never done anything like this period before.
Right.
I'd never written a book. I've barely done any writing at all. My experience was in media and radio, and so I had lots of experience interviewing people, which came in very, very handy, because that's what this book was really all about. Like, I don't even feel like I wrote a book. I basically compiled a book, through everybody else's voices. So, it was an immense amount of work, but, I am at the core, I'm a fan of NoMeansNo. That's why I did this. I just, I thought, okay, there needs to be an archive, a proper story of what really went on. And I really didn't think they were going to go for it at all. I was totally surprised when they did, and it's been awesome. But kudos to, I like to do this whenever I get a chance, to give a shout out to Scott Henderson, aka Zip Gun here in Victoria. He's a legend in this town, and he is a friend of mine. And early on, I told him about the idea, and he got a hold of these guys, particularly John and Andy, and sort of said, like, I was the guy to do it if they were ever going to be, open to such a thing. So he got the ball kind of rolling, and then it was a huge community effort after that too. I mean, I did a lot of work, but a lot of people helped too, a lot.
John, what was your first reaction when you heard about this project?
Mostly I was like, okay, I'm really busy with the pub right now.
Yeah, you got your own things going on. Sure, yeah.
No, it's there was another book had been done. What was I forget what it's called? The
Going Nowhere.
Going Nowhere, yeah. Which was it was a good book, very quick read. Was very short, and the people have talked about. I've said, well, you should do a documentary, or people are like, oh yeah, I'd like to do a documentary, and there is an Austrian film that centers around us, but for me, it's like wasn't an ambition that somebody needs to write a book about me and the band.
When's going to someone write a book about me?
What's the next phase of my career here? What do we have to? What's going to be my swan song?
Right.
It never really. It would be if the right thing came along, awesome. I'm not personally a huge fan of band documentaries, or I've seen some and they're fine. It's not. It never really occurred to me as being an important thing to do, but in the end, it's great because Jason was the right guy to do it. The approach was the way I would have that's what I agreed with was that whole sort of letting the fans and the people around the band tell the stories, because that's really what a band is about. I mean, my perspective is, it's just one of many perspectives. Sure. Obviously, I was in pretty tight with the fellas, but it's more interesting what other people are getting out of it. I'm out that it was our job in a way. We love to write and play music. We love to get in front of people and make them happy, even if it was kind of not melancholy, but rather sometimes depressing subject matter. And there is a sense of sadness that runs through NoMeansNo. But we also didn't take ourselves very seriously. So lots of fun and humor and all that. And but really, it's how your audience is affected by you that is your legacy, I think. And my thoughts on our career are maybe not the most interesting, but the people around tell the story.
I'm going to interrupt and go maybe off the rails just for a second, if that's all right. John,
fantastic.
I heard this from more than one person. Maybe you can either confirm or deny. I heard that Rob was planning, I don't know if it was going to be a memoir thing or not, but I heard Rob was planning actually on writing a book at one point in his life or career. Does that ring a bell?
I don't think Rob was going to. Tom has kept diaries for the entire time he was with, and he was thinking of compiling his diaries into a book.
Okay, right.
And I think that when you did you have any reference to his diaries at all?
Yeah, he sent me a bunch of them.
Sent you a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and it's typical Tom, so it'd be like half true and half bizarre.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and my memory is, whatever. It's like, well, what about that show in 1988? I'm like, I don't remember. I remember very little. Right. But Tom, somebody in the band keeping a diary is great, because then those little details that just come and go. That just the ethereal things of being on tour and momentary things that are said and just weird things that happen, they come and go and disappear. But Tom was very diligent, and I mean, I don't know how how much he wrote day to day, but he kept track.
He kept, and that's what they say. What they suggest for folks that are attempting to help their memory or increase their memory function is to keep and it's not keep a journal meaning write paragraphs about what happened, one sentence about things that happened that day, and that can spark the synapses to make that connection, right? And that's fantastic, because then you can be in situations where you'd be like, well, I don't remember saying that, but that certainly does sound like me. And that's
wait a minute, I'm calling my lawyer.
Yeah, exactly. You'll be hearing them. And I think it's
this whole thing, right? And I never did it, but it's good that people do it for sure.
Well, and it occurs to me that the book kind of reads almost like a people's history of NoMeansNo, in that way. And I think of, without explicitly being the case, but I think of books like that book Please Kill Me, about the New York punk rock, where it's just even more so just flat out, here are people talking about certain subjects, and it's all collated together. So not exactly formatted but that way, but in a way that the broad strokes of the quote unquote story get across, but not necessarily in a narrative function of this happened, and then this one begat that one, and so on and so on. And that kind of fits to me with the spirit of the band, like the backward instead of forward, right? With W. Buzz Ryan. Great.
W. Buzz, yeah. I knew that I had to do that. Right. Well, thanks. Yeah, I had to get W. Buzz in there for sure.
Yeah, how would you not? It would be incomplete otherwise.
My initial. What's happening there, John? You okay?
I'm fine. I just have to plug my phone in here. I've changed positions.
Yeah,
there we go.
There you go.
I from the get-go, I wanted it to because I've always liked the oral history style of music biographies when they're done well, and not just music but comedy and anything really, biographies of different people, actors and things. But I wanted it to feel like, strangely, you were in a room with all of these people having a beer around a table and just hearing all the stories, and it all just kind of flowed. And I think I've heard a couple of people say that it reads like that, which I really appreciate, because that's what the intention was. And Paul Prescott gets a huge shout out on that as well, because he's the guy that helped me initially with all the editing before it went to the publisher for the final editing, the real technical stuff. But yeah, the getting compared to Please Kill Me is insane to me, because that's like the Bible of oral histories. In fact, Legs McNeil, who wrote that book, Paul actually sent me this link one time of, I guess he was interviewed a bunch of years ago, and it was like the do's and don'ts of writing an oral history by Legs McNeil. No, awesome.
That's fantastic. I love that.
Yeah, I highly recommend it to anybody who's thinking about writing a book, because it really spoke to me. It was like, don't do this and don't do that, and this is how you should edit people's quotes properly and make it sound. And it was invaluable, man, for sure.
Well, and also sometimes it's worth looking into those that have done things before, if only to learn what not to do.
Yeah, right.
Let others be the cautionary tale, that the canary in the coal mine, if you will.
Yeah.
No, it reads well. It reads well and easily, and I like the inclusion of like the posters, like the other materials. Like it makes it, again, I show my age here a little bit, but like the best zines, I feel like we're like that too, where it's like, oh, it's not just like you're just reading text for a long time and then you're reading more text for another long time. It's like, no, it's like it's as much as a book can be a multimedia thing.
Yeah, like a coffee table book. You can just pick it up and peruse through it, and you don't really have to start at the beginning and read to the end. You can
you do
spots and pick your spots. Read it from the inside out, or all the photos and stuff. And Jason was saying, of course, that there was a whole ton of fan art that didn't end up in the book. Like there was 50, another 100% more stuff that was on the, on the editor's floor.
Yeah, Conan and Paul and I cut almost 20,000. No, what was it more? Sorry. 80,000 words we cut from the first draft to what it became.
And Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and I had all these.
That's a lot of words, my dude.
Dude, I know. Believe me.
And I know, because I'm getting the messages. Hey, I'm not in the book.
I got cut out.
Don't get me started on that shit.
Don't worry, we'll put out the number 2.
Yeah, exactly. Sequel's coming. Sequel,
you're in the sequel.
This is the irony of punk rockers, though, especially old punk rockers who are still stuck in their ways. It's like, well, why'd you cut out 80,000 words, man? Well, but meanwhile, they're like complaining that the book's $40 now. I'm like, because it'd be $80 if I left that in. And
you want to take out a bank loan to buy it? Yeah, I mean, what do you think's happening here, pal? Yeah, it's well, and then also, look, you're not writing War and Peace. You're writing like it's you got to strike the balance between being as complete in telling the story as you can without necessarily being over, and it's hard, and there I imagine there's very hard decisions that have to be taken. I mean, it sounds like you could probably make a little side book that's of the stuff that was cut out, right?
Well, we got plans to release
be brutal.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. You do.
we want to get we plan to get the cut stuff, the expanded version out at some point somehow. It probably won't be another book. It'll be like an online thing or
maybe
something.
an online supplement or something along those lines.
Yeah, that
sounds like a vitamin, doesn't it?
Yeah,
online supplement.
Supplement.
Ooh. Yeah. Where's that?
It's not good for you though.
Hopefully oral.
Yes.
But if you have it, and obviously. So there's going to be gradations of interest, right? That are level, like there's people that will be like, oh, there's a NoMeansNo book. Cool, I'll check that out. I know of that band or know of a song or something. And then there's people that like have NoMeansNo tattoos, and then they're gonna
want everything.
They want everything possible.
Yeah, you could do a whole edition just tattoo photos.
I love it. That's
here's
great.
another dead Bob. Look at this dead Bob.
Yeah. It's a more different dead Bob.
Hey, I got one too. Good.
There you go. So see the next
I
book.
think it's amazing.
It could be a picture book. You just send it to tattoo parlors. That's great.
Yeah.
You etch that onto your skin.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and what a vote of confidence, right? Like what
man,
an
it's
act of
about-
love.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean about fans and the fan perspective. That's as I've said before, you write a song, and it's really not yours anymore. The moment you present it to the world, it doesn't belong to you, even if it's just a tiny, small world or a ginormous, Bruce Springsteen world or something with millions of people. But it doesn't really belong to you anymore. It belongs to everyone who has listened to it or listens to it or has taken something from it, or maybe they've just completely ignored it. But it's so when people scratch dead Bob onto their skin, it's like, okay, how did this connect? What went on here? And as a musician, you would know Conan too. It's very gratifying that okay, someone got it, or at least in however they got it. And
art can often feel like putting a message in a bottle and throwing it out into the ocean sometimes. Yeah. So it's like when something comes back and there's like tons of bottles coming back. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I know. It's
lovely.
Amazing and very gratifying.
I think Sting did a song about that, didn't he, or something?
Yes. Noted No Means No fan Sting. Definitely did that. I like the tone. I think the tone is right for the band. Like it's irreverent, it's pretty funny at points. Like, but it's not like I've had this ongoing discussion about quote unquote funny music and how that usually is like like it's not good. Like a lot of like people that are like when they think it's anything with a sense of humor, like immediately turns into the worst iteration of that. Yet I feel as serious as No Means No was at making music, that like you guys have a pretty good sense of humor, like around the world as well as around the band. There's all over the place. We talked about the the freaking the record with the People's Choice, right? With the how fucking old are No Means No, give it up, grandpa. Which is amazing. That's an amazing album cover. And it's hilarious because even if you don't know what that band is, you're like, what? Like, it's gonna catch your attention in that way.
I know. I was like 38 years old or something.
You weren't even. That's the thing. Exactly. That thing's amazing, even funnier. So it wasn't even accurate, right? I just like the aspect that the humor of the band comes through in the book, which I think is hard to do because humor can be. Ask a comedian. Humor's hard. Humor is harder than drama.
Jason knows all about how difficult humor can be. Yeah. So he is also a stand-up comedian.
Oh,
that's true. Go. Yeah, I've done it for a long time. I don't do it much anymore because I'm not that good of a stand-up comedian. But
that's demonstrating the troubles and
I've tread the boards. Yeah, it's difficult. Humor to me, I'll let John talk about in a sec, but like, I don't think No Means No is completely unique in being a punk band with a sense of humor, but they do it in a very interesting way. But I love music that's got a sense of humor, and it's not just even punk, but I think of bands like the Melvins and the Butthole Surfers, and even like the Dickies and all these like great punk bands, Dead Kennedys too, great senses of humor, just in dark humor. I love that stuff. The band, the Crucifix.
Look at Devo. Look at Devo. Crucifix. Yeah, great. I mean,
Crucifix have one of my favorite album covers ever. It's just this like black background, and it just says Crucifix in big red letters, and it's a picture of a pastoral scene of like lambs leaping and little fluffy animals and ducks and bunnies on a meadow. I love that shit so much.
Then Doc Dart has that. He's a body man. Like, like, oh my god, like who's this guy? Exactly. This maniac. Yeah. What's his deal? But the thing is, for me, the humor from No Means No is a rare echelon of like it's very smart without telling you it's very smart ahead of time. What I'm going to say is very smart. It's not that kind of humor, you know, which is good because that usually doesn't do what it's supposed to do. And I'm not sure if it was a fear necessarily, but I was wondering if that would get across in the book, and I was hoping that it would, and I think you did a good job curating that. But was that a concern with like treating this legacy seriously, but like, you know, maybe it doesn't have to be.
It was actually more important than you could know, because
I can imagine
of how important their humor is to me, and comedy in general is to me. And one of the really coolest things that happened early on, getting to know John and Tom, and all four of them, is their love of the same kind of comedy that I love, like the Goon Show and Monty Python and Steve Martin, and these guys were into like the Firesign Theater and all this crazy comedy that I grew up on. So it was really important to get it across in the book without being, I think, overt about it. But it's easy because a lot of the people in this book are just naturally funny anyway. So you can't have Tom Holliston in a book and not have it be fucking funny. It's impossible.
You would have to work at it. Yeah,
exactly.
You would really have to like put an effort into that project. Yeah, but it's, you know, well, I'm glad to hear that, because it's something that I could imagine would be kind of stressful almost to a certain degree, because you want to, again, you want to treat the legacy seriously, especially for people. Not everyone's a jokester, you know, I am,
right?
But some people are like, it's not funny, stop laughing. I'm like, well, that's why I'm laughing, is because it's not funny.
Yeah,
as Dice would say, there's some things you just don't joke about. Because everybody laughs. Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, but so John, when did like this feel real to you? Like when, because there's lots of things, people talk about a lot of stuff, right? And then like, you know, some of it happens even. But when did this book project feel real to you?
I'm not sure it actually has yet.
I'll let you know when it happens. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess like Jason probably too is you know, when it's done so well, it's like, oh, this is, you know, the reviews are great. The people are really excited, and I think PM Press is pretty happy with the results, and so to me it was kind of like not a surprise or pleasant surprise, but in a way it was like, oh wow, you know, I didn't realize how interested people really were, and I haven't read it cover to cover yet myself. Right. As I tell everyone, well, I kind of know how it ends, so
yeah, spoiler alert. Yeah.
But and I think my brother too was really very genuinely surprised. I haven't talked at length with Tom or Andy really about it, but I think he was kind of taken aback too, like why do people care?
Yeah, you guys always had this kind of these guys always had this kind of, and don't take this the wrong way, John, but you always had this kind of annoying humility. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, dudes. You know people love you. Yeah.
I ascribed it to being Canadian, by the way. But I don't know if that's exactly true. But almost every Canadian band that I have gotten to know, they always have like that. You know, it's a Midwestern thing as well, and that's where it's very clear that I'm not from the Midwest, because I don't have it.
Right.
Yeah. But no, like, I mean, it's a big deal, and there's cross genre too. I mean, I think I told you last time you were on, John, that when I had Chris Murphy of Sloan on one of the times, that like he was like, the best Canadian bands are No Means No and Rush.
Yeah.
And like he said, he took the time to reiterate it later because he felt it so bad. And that's Sloan, who I love Sloan. They're very different. It's a very different genre. But he comes from punk rock though.
Yeah. And Chris is in the book.
Chris is, him. Which I'm very glad.
Chris sent me in the mail. This is the mail. I am a big Sloan fan too, and it was so cool to get even just to chat with him on the phone. You know, he was in Toronto and I'm in Victoria.
Very hilarious dude. Yeah,
super awesome. Funny, really nice guy. And he took my address, and then like a week later, he mailed me this massive No Means No poster from when you guys did that whole run of shows in Montreal in '85, your first Canadian tour.
Oh yeah.
got Dead Bob, a big giant Dead Bob, No Means No, and like 4 or 5 dates of the different places. Just sent that to me in the mail. I was like, wow, that's when that was a moment where I was like, oh, this is really happening. Like the guy from Snow is sending me No Means No memorabilia.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's just going to show you the influence of the band too. That it wouldn't even necessarily be only the people you would expect. That the music touches all kinds of people. And maybe you may not even be immediately aware of it because they're not necessarily even going to be at the show, or maybe they are. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was cool. I thought there was a good balance in that way, that it wasn't just folks from one scene or one walk of life, if you will, that are in the book. I think it was very representative of, like, some of my favorite bands. Like, you don't quite know what the crowd's going to look like. It isn't just like, Boots and Chains or Cardigans or whatever. Like, it's going to be like some melange of all those things and maybe none of those things. And I always felt that every No Means No show I ever went to, I was like just this bunch of freaks, nerds, and weirdos hanging out together. Great.
Yep.
And I mean that all as a compliment, to be clear. That's none of that to be denigrating. And I think, again, that got across in the book too. And that's kind of difficult. Like, it's really easy to be like, up the punks, like whatever. This is the guy from Bleeding Anus Zine. Okay, great, wonderful. I'm glad that that's in there, but it's not just Bleeding Anus Zine. It's all kinds of folks, and that's like, did you make a list, or did it happen more organically? Like, I'm curious, like what the winnowing process was, and like, everyone's gonna have their story to tell, right? And
well, first of all, Bleeding Anus Zine is actually a medical journal thing. I don't believe that
is it really?
Yeah. But,
I thought it was street punk. My bad. I was thinking of a different scene. Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. I think I was too busy trying to formulate that hilarious comeback.
That's good. I can tell you're a stand-up. Yeah, you're working your material.
What's the question then? How compiling it? Like,
just all the different people, the different walks of life, the people that are, whether they be musicians, whether they be artists, just music fans, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. You want to get a cross representation of the audience as much as you want to get a cross representation of the art. So that's a balancing act, and you got to leave some stuff out. At least 80,000 words of it. There
you go. Yeah. The vast array of types of people that are in the book, as far as first of all, there's fans in the book who are from all over the world, and all different walks of life and careers and things, and then there's all the different, obviously, the people in the No Means No story, but then people not just from punk but from other genres of music, and there's even like comedians and novelists and stuff in there. That all happened, I hate that term, but organically, because as I was interviewing people, every time I'd interview somebody, it would lead to more people. Like, every time I would talk to somebody, they'd be like, oh, you should really talk to this person. Or I heard that, China Miéville, who's this like science fiction, amazing, really successful author in the UK. Oh, I heard China Miéville is a big No Means No fan. You should try to get a hold of him. I'm like, okay, I'll try. And me and my little investigative reporter brain would get to work and find these people, and I was successful some of the time. There's a lot of people I couldn't get a hold of just because they were busy or whatever, or they had people you had to get through that wouldn't get me to get me in contact with them.
I'm the same way. You got to talk to my manager first. So
yeah, well, I mean, Conan, you probably know just from trying to get guests on your show how weird it is. Here's can I go off on a quick tangent here? It has nothing to do with anything other than just this makes me so pissed off, because I've been in radio long before the book. I was doing the Punk Show, which was a radio show, and I would get all these really cool interviews. Conan, what is the point of being a publicist if you don't get back to anybody? How many times have you come across that in your life, right?
Man. Dude,
you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, I do. I can go ahead and I'll say it. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of that. Like, it's I don't understand it either. It's like, isn't this literally your job to
just say no, or like, thanks for the email, we'll get back to you if we're interested. That's all I need.
Do not mind being told no. There are only a few people that have ever turned down being on the show. And
wouldn't you rather be told no than ignored completely?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. You don't even have to be like give me like an essay length response. Just like no, I don't think it's right for me. Okay, fine. No harm, no foul. Right? But no answer. F
No
you,
answer.
man.
Yeah. Totally.
It's a huge pet peeve for, well, I guess everyone really. It's the same thing, you know. You're dealing with somebody and they just they don't respond. Like, okay, no, great. Then I don't have to think about you anymore.
Look, no means no. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Waiting
Exactly.
for people. Oh god.
Yeah, I mean, like like whatever. Like that. My favorite. Like I try to even write people back myself, even people that pitch themselves as guests of the show, which happens all the time.
Sure.
And and it's sometimes it's just like, hey, this is cool. Yeah, this isn't right for the show. Like it requires a deep familiarity for the subject. That's the secret sauce to why this show works. And there's things where it's like, I don't want to say I'm not into it necessarily, but I'll be like, oh, I don't think I'm going to be able to make that happen.
But
I still respond back.
Yeah,
That's the decent human thing to do.
Right. And when I don't, I usually will eventually. Like it's just because it's like, oh, I'm crazy busy right now, and that's why I think it's better to give a response, even a terse one, than no response, because no response is the new default now, and I don't care for it.
Well,
personally.
with the possible exception when the message is generally mostly spelt incorrectly, and even if it weren't, it would make no sense anyway. Those ones I kind of just okay.
Yeah, you can leave.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna respond to this.
Fair point, John. Yeah.
Someone's lit up like a Christmas tree and at the computer. Great. Having a great night, but I'm not going to write you back about this because it's great.
Yeah. I've had a couple like, what? Okay.
Right. It's like non-Euclidean geometry. But no, I mean, I think that's it's so interesting that we have all these avenues for communication now. We have all these ability to connect with people worldwide with like so little effort, really, compared to how it used to be in the past.
Oh God.
What a great thing that is. And what do we use it for? Largely nonsense.
Right. You still don't say anything.
Yeah, exactly. What's being said? Usually nothing. Well, okay.
Yeah, totally. Well, of course, it begs the question that nobody really wants to know what's on your mind. And you don't really want to tell them what's on your mind. So we all agree. Let's just not go there.
Yeah, how you doing? Oh, fine. Yeah, fine.
That's right. Yeah.
But that comes down to information filtering, right? And Jason, that's what I was talking about with the book of just like how you winnow things down, right? You obviously you're not going to be able to talk to the people you can't talk to. I mean, you got Fred Armisen to do like a foreword. Great.
Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah.
Like he's a great dude to do that. A lot of people, I usually have to tell people like, yeah, he was in Frenchmouth. You don't remember Frenchmouth? Like,
yeah.
Because most people do not, and that's a kind of a whole section of his life. But it's like, no, he is a punk rocker. He is not just punk rocker, but a drummer. I saw him do his Tito Puente character. I forget what he calls him. It's basically Tito Puente, right?
Yeah, okay.
As a bit opening for Shellac, and I'm like, this is amazing. And this is like well before he was on SNL, well before Portlandia, any of that.
Yeah.
Right.
I was like, oh crap, the drummer from Trenchmouth does stand up. Cool.
Yeah. No, he's a super nice guy too. Yeah. And it was cool to get him. And I don't know if in the book where his forward is, there's a little, it's just like a flyer or a ticket thing.
Yeah.
From the one and only time that Trenchmouth opened for No Means No at Rice University in Houston. And I searched for months and months for that thing. And I was literally calling Rice University and getting into the radio station, asking them to go through their archives. And then that didn't work. So I got a hold of the other bands that were on that bill. And finally one of the guys had that ticket or that flyer and got it to me. And I sent that to Fred to show him. And he was blown away. He was like, where did you get this? And then the Rice University people got back to me and they had a recording of that show. They didn't have the No Means No set, but they had Trenchmouth set, like soundboard recording of it. So I got that for Fred and for the other guys, Trenchmouth, and they were over the moon. It was really cool. And so I was like, I'm buddies with Fred Armisen now.
See, and those are like what I call like the fault lines that you have with this kind of creative project, which is it touches all these other things, like it affects
Totally.
other things as well. That's fantastic, and that's, I mean, just the sheer amount of detective work it must have taken for some of this stuff, and knowing full well that some people, Chris Murphy's just going to send you a poster too. Okay, well, that's Chris Murphy for you. He's a mensch.
Yeah.
But like some of the stuff, it's like it had to be, arduous to track down, right? I mean, it can't have been easy.
It was a lot of work doing all of that, but I loved it though, because that's kind of, I don't know, just after years of being in radio and like somewhat a journalist, I guess, I always kind of prided myself and in my skills of tracking people down. I don't know if that makes me maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe that's creepy. It makes me a stalker or something.
Maybe
but
you're a bail bondsman. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You cannot. I'm like Dog the Bounty Hunter. I will find you. And I will get
the
you.
Dog the Bounty Hunter of No Means No paraphernalia.
There you go. Exactly. But I love that. I love that thrill of the hunt, like finding, and not just people, but finding like, I got to find an image of this poster. I know it exists somewhere, and like figuring out where will I go? And when you get it, it's like finding treasure. It's like being an explorer or something. But you have to be ready for a lot of disappointment, because you don't get it 9 times out of 10. If that, you need it to happen once for it to be cool, if that makes sense. Yeah,
it does. Hey, John, was there anything that was uncovered in this treasure hunt expedition, that any piece of ephemera or anything that really kind of took you by surprise?
Well, to be perfectly honest, one of the biggest surprises was a friend of mine. It wasn't in the book. It really wasn't. It was sort of maybe a bit inspired by the book, but a friend of mine from junior high, who I was good friends with, just for those grades, grade 8 till 10. And we used to do goofy things together. We used to make little movies and all sorts of weird things. And he kind of reconnected with me. Nice. And next thing you know, he's sending me some of these little weird movies that we had made. Like, oh my God, awesome. I completely forgot about all these things. Yeah. And I just remember how much fun it was. Like, I just loved, we had a little Brownie 8mm camera, family camera. And when I was between the ages of about 10 and 15, 16, I loved making little movies with this thing. And not directly related to the book, I suppose, but, it's a bit like memory lane, but,
right.
And I'm not a nostalgic guy, really. It's like, it's not like, I sort of bask in the images of the past. But yeah, the book is rife with photos, and of course, the one photo of Craig Bouget that didn't make it into the book, Jason. It was, boy, that was during some controversy around here.
I can't believe you brought that up, John. I cannot believe you brought that up. So Conan,
we're trying to get ratings here. It's fine. He's okay to bring it up.
Craig Bouget, who was NoMeansNo's touring sound guy for the largest chunk of their
almost 20 years.
He's got a very delicate ego, Craig, and I've learned this about him. And I had forgotten that early on he demanded that I include this photo of him eating escargot in Portugal or something, because he looked really sexy in it. And I forgot about it, and it didn't end up in the book, and he was quite hurt, and I almost wasn't invited to his 60th birthday party because of it.
Wow.
But I did go, and he made a point of mentioning it to everybody. He also wanted his photo on the cover of the book at one point, and an entire chapter dedicated to him.
Right.
This is the kind of guy we're dealing with. So just so you know.
No, I admire the specificity of the request, though. I mean, like, it's very specific. No, I want the escargot. It's going to be, wow, okay, you got it all planned out, huh?
I hope you understand we're joking around, but he's a hilarious guy. But yeah, he was, I think he was actually legitimately.
His brother Paul is, oh my God. Just
the two of them together.
Sharp wit. He's so funny. The both of them. They're very cruel at times, because that sort of very observant Irish kind of
Sure.
you know,
Yeah.
humor.
Yeah.
More of a
It kinda
lifestyle
hurts,
than
but
humor.
It's
but
really
yeah.
funny anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting too that I think the balance of voices is very good, being that like it's not strictly just the fans, but it's not strictly just the band either. Like there's a good balance there, and the different we call it the Rashomon effect, right? Of how different people view certain experiences.
The Rashomon? I've never heard that before.
Oh yeah, from Kurosawa. Excuse me, serious cinephile here. Yeah. Well,
Oh, yeah,
the whole thing is like,
the Rashomon effect. Yeah, okay.
yeah, like the one, like an event viewed differently by different people, so on and so on. You know, like, and that can be in memory can be fantastic, and it can be very entertaining in the way that people don't always remember things exactly the same. Did you have any instances where there was some Rashomon effect going on that you had to sort out?
Yeah, a little bit. It didn't happen a lot though. But there were a few. Yeah, I know what you're saying. There were a few people that had different memories of the same event that kind of contradicted each other, and in those cases, I would try to just get clarity if I could, and usually one of the people would be like, "Oh yeah, no, that's probably actually, yeah, he's probably right. That's what happened." Or in a couple of instances, I left a couple of mild things in there where people contradict each other, because that's just natural. That's how life goes. People remember things slightly differently. Was it a red car or a blue car? I don't know, but I was there. I'm sure something. So yeah, it was a bit of a balance. I didn't want to have a bunch of contradictory things going on, but I didn't come across it that much. So yeah,
It's good to see everyone got their story straight.
Yeah.
basically, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sort it right out if they don't. Was there anyone or anything that you really wanted to get that you didn't, Jason, for this?
Well,
Any white whales, if you will?
yeah, there were a couple. There are also a couple of people, and again, this didn't come up much. And this is a testament to how much NoMeansNo is loved, I think, too. First of all, I know that if I didn't have the okay from the guys to do this book, then nobody in their universe would have talked to me, because that's the loyalty there for sure. But the fact that everybody
unauthorized biography.
Exactly, yeah. But once it got going and people were like, "Oh, okay, this is legit," and the Wright brothers and the other guys are okay with it, then everybody was open to talking to me, and I really had very, very few people say no. There were a couple, and then there were a couple of instances like there's a woman named Susan Silver. She was Chris Cornell's wife back in the day in Seattle. Chris Cornell was a massive fan of NoMeansNo. Obviously, I'm not going to get him because he's gone, but she was a big promoter in the scene. John, and you guys stayed at her place and stuff when you were down in Seattle early on. And I was told, like, you're never going to get a hold of Susan. She just and I did. And she was like, "Oh yeah, I'd love to talk to you." And then she just ghosted me completely after that. I was like, "Ah, shit. Like, what happened there? I thought we were, I was going to talk to you."
Right. Yeah.
And then there's like people like Dave Grohl, who I knew, but it got to a point where I didn't even, like, no offense to Dave Grohl, it would be really awesome to get him in the book, but it doesn't really matter. Like and it's not because he said no, by the way. He was aware of the project, and I was told he was into it, but that guy is a busy dude with like a lot of things going on. I was sort of told he's the kind of guy that says yes to everything and then gets to about like 40% of it, because he's just and I can't even imagine. I can't imagine the kind of existence it must be to be on that level of superstardom. So I get it, and I don't care. Like, it's fine. The book's fine without him.
Right.
Would I like him to read it now and maybe post about it? Yeah, that would be cool. But
sure.
Yeah.
There's a documentary about DIY touring. That full disclosure, I'm in it, but like, Steve Albini's in it, Tim from Silkworm, bunch of people in it.
Oh, is that about the Vans?
It's not the Dave Grohl one. So there's a Dave Grohl one.
Okay, yeah.
That's got some pun on Vans that I can't remember. Oh, it's called What Drives Us, right? But this came out first. It's called Why Am I Doing This?
Oh,
it's the name of the documentary.
I love it
because it's that style. It's that style of the people represented are we'll just charitably say folks that do DIY touring, right? And it's very representative in the fact that it's not really about any specific bands. It's about all bands,
right?
To that degree. one of the marketing lines, if you can say it was a marketing line, because Eric basically labored on it for like 10 years and finally just said screw it and put it up on YouTube, and then it's
Right.
got like 500,000 views now. But it says 100% Dave Grohl free. Was his tagline, which I thought was very funny.
Well, there's another person that I couldn't get for the book that I really wanted, who is in everything. So I don't know why he said no. Well, I kind of do, but was Henry Rollins. It's a book about punk rock. Henry Rollins. You don't want to be in that. You're in every other one I've ever read.
Can I tell you, he's one of the only people that told me no too for this show.
Is
that
he
right?
sore about that T-shirt?
I know, but that was the whole thing. Like, here's your opportunity to address it. Anyway.
I mean, but again, at least he told me no. I'm like, cool, man.
That's
right
true.
on.
No, honestly, and
Appreciate
I've interviewed Henry. I got him, Conan, before on my other show,
lucky
my
you.
old
All right.
radio show. And he's a nice guy, and he does communicate. He says, "No, I'm good," and so
I actually
full
really
respect.
appreciate that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
it's okay to tell people no.
Yeah,
to do stuff. Going back to the earlier conversation, but
these guys, this guy here, or is it this guy here, made a living telling people no.
Yeah. That's some great visual humor going on here for the podcast
Really
listeners. You're going to be like, why are they laughing? It's like when you see hear a live album and everyone in the audience is laughing at something on stage, and then you're like,
You can't see it.
I don't know what are they laughing at? What's happening?
know.
Some antic of some kind.
Wow.
I have a little kitty tickling my feet as we talk.
Oh, is that sweet?
Adorable.
No, I don't. I'm lying.
Is that Claude?
So, John, seeing everything in this book form, right? And you've got all of these different aspects of things. Was there any and the epiphanies I'm kind of thinking of is I remember when you had you on the show last time and we talked about Live and Cuddly, and in my entire life since I'd known that record, I just assumed it was it's Rob and John and their dad, and it wasn't. And you know what? A bunch of other people wrote me after that show. I thought it was too. I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, it makes sense, right, to a certain degree. But was there anything like along those lines that you're like, oh, I'm going to set the record straight about this, this factoid or thing that maybe if it didn't bother you, it was something that was on your mind?
Well, no, nothing that I've noticed. But as I say, I haven't read the whole book from beginning to end, so I'll have to get back to you on that one.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
But no, nothing. Nothing has poked out at me yet, and a couple of things are and I don't want to pick on people or pick out people for what they say, but a couple of things are oh, I didn't realize you thought that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not in a bad way, but just in a, for instance, when I worked at the pub, the thing is, no one would ever tell me anything because people don't talk to me about NoMeansNo or anything the way they talk to other people. So here you have someone talking to Jason, not directly to me, but to Jason, and so then you get to say, well, okay, this is what they're saying when I'm not around.
Right. No, that's very real. I mean? Yeah.
And not in a bad way, but just, in a kind of an interesting way too. It's, sometimes when you're the center of attention, you're really kept out of the loop, which seems like a bit counterintuitive, but that's often the way it works.
No, I think you do get a different kind of conversation when it's I don't know, a neutral party might be the wrong word, but when you have someone that's not the subject of the conversation, it's like the entire nature of it is differently handled almost, right? Like there's people are going to be disclosing of certain things that maybe they wouldn't be otherwise, or even to just approach it differently, less guarded. I don't know how to put it, but
and that's kind of what makes this book interesting in that way. It's a bit unfiltered in certain way, and if you have a biography that is very much centered around your subject, the members of the band and everything that they think and all their thoughts and all their memories, it's like you were saying before, it's just one perspective, and it's very narrow perspective in many ways. And it's less what's the word?
Authentic or something, but
not authentic. It's less controlled by the artist.
Right.
That's not the word I wanted to use. But
well, if you're only talking to the artist, then there's an immediate guard to put up, because the artist is going to want to protect their image and reputation and all that kind of stuff. Even if
curated, that's the word I was thinking. It becomes too curated by the artist, and it pushes where the artist wants what they want you to know and think about you and think about things the way they see it, maybe, and the way they remember everything was fucking great. Well, except for that wasn't so great there, and that wasn't so great there, that you might not hear other than someone else's perspective, right?
It's a public image thing, which it can be an art project in and of itself, depending on the person.
Well, it's kind of what makes this work as well, is we never had really much of a public image,
right?
And so the book, we don't, and again, we don't present ourselves with much of a public image in the book itself. It's the public image is actually indeed the public.
Right.
Yeah, right.
And like, I think I might have mentioned this before. I don't know, but like, again, coming up from a time when like I didn't know what you guys even looked like for a long time. I was like, what do these dudes look like? I don't know. Do they have glasses? That was my only question. Do they have glasses?
Well, that was how we were being all punk rock about, being like, it's not us, it's the music.
Right. And it was very music forward in that way. And in a way that a lot of bands, Fugazi did it, sure. But like, that was almost like a Ian not wanting it to be like the new Ian band, right? And so there was like a different reason or rationale for it. But it's interesting what people focus on when there isn't something that's like, here's the bands, there's the brick wall they're in front of, here's what they're doing.
One of these guys' favorite bands is the Residents, who are a perfect example of that. No one ever knew what they looked like. They wore eyeballs on their heads and dressed in the weirdest things, and they were completely inaccessible as human beings. Nobody even knew what was going on there.
Oh, sure, and we were not unawares. Definitely that was part of our approach. Is the being Residents fans, and that we weren't kind of like the art thing that they were, but. But that idea of the anonymity,
and having people almost having no choice but to engage with the music on its own terms, rather than.
Well, this is the thing. In fact, we have this discussion with Dead Bob, this new project, and talking about bands have like projections behind them and imagery. You don't have to carry around a backdrop anymore. You just have a little that blows it up and on behind you. And we had a show, and it wasn't us, but the promoters blew up our logo behind us. Like, oh, okay, that's all right. And they're like, oh, well, we can have this or that, and it could be doing this. And I'm like, no, the eyes are thieves. The eyes steal the whole musical experience from you. That when people get distracted, it's like going to a bar and it's like nothing but TVs and lottery everywhere.
Oh God, there's like 7 different sports events on.
What happens is you're no longer with the person you're with. You're staring at a TV, and the same thing. It's like, and this when you say forcing you to engage in the music. Exactly, it's not what we look like; it's what we sound like. Right. So we won't distract you from that, And so the whole thing of having projected and visuals, it shows kind of bothers me, because all it does is distract you from listening. It takes your attention away. You're not watching the person perform or the people performing and listening when you're watching them, because obviously it's still a visual experience. You're drawn away from in some other visual experience that really has no relationship to what's going on. It can be choreographed, I suppose. It could be very artfully done. Lighting, I think, is, we never had a light show and kind of like just turn all the lights on white. That's all we want. But that's not to say that a theatrical performance like a rock and roll show, and it is kind of like that choreographed lights can make a big difference if it's something you plan and you have somebody doing it, and it's rehearsed, and it's like this is for an effect. But when the visuals start to take over or distract you from the music, it that's where I draw the line. No, I don't want all that. And I think part of like what you say, the whole sort of keeping our personalities, our look. We didn't have a look, we didn't dress up like punk rockers. We just played like them. And that was what, that's what we wanted people to be mostly paying attention to, or at least not do something that detracts from that. That's always the center.
And The Eyes Are Thieves is a fantastic song or album title. Just put that in the back pocket there.
Okay. Write that one down.
Write it down now.
Can I tell you, I started doing video for this show 6 years in, and that was actually one of the things that I thought, not that phrase, but one of the things I thought about when doing it. I'm like, well, is that going to be distracting? Are people going to be focused on like what people look like when they're saying something rather than what's being said? And like, I actually did struggle with that a little bit. And then ultimately I was like, you know what? Nobody cares.
No.
I just did it. Like, you want to do video? Great. If you don't, we won't. It doesn't matter to me. It's not that important. But I did think about that a lot because, again, for me, it's all about what is being said, right? Not like what they look like while saying it.
And the human face is not. It's not the same. That's not a visual distraction.
Right.
That's actually
laser shows are.
It's like if you had like a little fish swimming by all the time. Like, my show's called Fishes. So anyway, we were talking about that's why is that there?
Animated GIFs jumping around.
Yeah, three guys talking to each other and looking virtually at each other. That's what this is. And you go to a rock show, well, it's people up playing music. That's what they're doing.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right. You don't need anything else. So I'm not like railing against it. It's just it's not necessary.
Well, you can just go to the planetarium and go see Rags and Bones perform with lasers. Great. I mean, that's a different experience. Sounds great. I'm in if someone's doing it.
There is a gentleman who is making a video for us.
Oh, really?
Yeah, an actual honest to goodness video.
This is great.
I don't think NoMeansNo ever did a video. Did we? That weird one.
You did one. You did one. You did a song. You did a video for "Tired of Waiting."
Yeah,
you got to remember this, right? And Tom. This is before Tom ever joined the band, but Tom played Dead Bob, and you did it at the Balmoral House, and like little black and white. Or maybe it's not black and white; it's color, I guess. But it's dark and pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah, it was.
So there's one
at doing a video.
One that you did over the course of.
Like, did you guys ever submit it to like Much Music or anything like that, or was it just?
I don't think so.
No, okay.
Interesting.
I don't think I ever saw the final cut till it was. Well, no, I think I might have. I don't know. We didn't know what we were doing anyway.
Which is a shame because I mean, like look at Devo, right? Like,
there's good videos, but I always had the same videos. I was never interested. They always bored me. I didn't watch them. I wasn't excited by them. There's a few. Tool did a couple really cool ones. And there's some good stuff, but the vast 99.9% are just whatever. They're just imagery. I know it's a marketing and promoting and blah blah blah. But they never went together. In fact, I was arguing again about this. It's like, if we're going to do a video, then what I want to do is have someone shoot a video and then we write a song for it. It's like, the thing is, when you have visuals, they come first. They're the first thing. They override everything else. So the music is already pushed into the background. The music is not what you're engaged with. And I guess videos are a facet of the entertainment business, whatever. But music was always so primary for me and my brother and Andy and Tom too. I imagine that it was just got in the way.
Yeah, so, that's interesting though, because we were talking about this almost like a multimedia project, right? Because if you're, it's like, it's going to be a melding of like the music and the visuals, but it'll be kind of conceived as a fully developed
it's like
that, right?
There's wonderful movie music and music that is written for that. Okay, we're making a movie now. We need music, It's like, okay, we're going to make a video. So, okay, now we need a song. It's like, it seems to me it would work better the other way around.
It's just like remember we were talking about theme songs last time, right?
Yeah.
And theme songs, it's like an art in and of itself. It's very different from other music composition, and like what
totally.
you need to do and your goals are like wildly different than, and even wildly different from different eras, like Streets of San Francisco versus, like a modern sitcom or something. I like that idea. I mean, and why not? In the era where video's back.
Yeah,
that went away.
But just cut. That's when we're going back to being the anonymity of the band, and that our images were not, we didn't focus on that. But that's okay. Dead Bob looks like we're gonna have a video.
There you go.
For White Stone Eyes, looks pretty cool.
That's one of my favorite songs on the record. So there you go.
Yeah. So a friend of Christy's, Christy. Plays guitar in Dead Bob is a friend of hers, and he did a video for her band Wrong.
Oh, cool.
RONG Wrong.
Right.
Great rocking band. And I remember, oops, what the hell happened?
So rocking, it turned off your video.
Wow.
That's impressive.
Is this the video, John? It's actually not that interesting.
It's very high. It's very Bergman-esque. It's very high concept. We're busting John Wright's chops. That's great.
Oh dear.
Well, while we're waiting,
there. So?
Yeah. We're here. Where are you? Are you in the void?
Me? I can't see John at all. Oh no, John, are you there?
No, he's None More Black is the name of the song.
Right. There you go.
Yeah. So obviously you can't include video in a book, right? You can't have like this live performance, whatever. Was there ever any thought towards like, obviously it's anecdotal, people have rock, man, it was cool, it was a good show, but like to get across the idea of No Means No live, like was there anything that you specifically had to do? Oh, there you go. Look at this.
There he is.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm back.
There's two of you now. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Hey!
Whoa.
Oh,
I don't even know. Fantastic.
a little bit crowded in here.
Is this how your podcasts normally go, Conan?
Yeah,
I apologize for both of us.
Did my
It's
face
fine.
do like that thing where it goes?
No, it went totally black. I made a Spinal Tap reference. I invoked Bergman. It was pretty good. I was, it's clear I do
I
this
made
live.
a joke about how if it was pitch black, if that was your new video you were showing us, it made
Right, because we were talking about videos and when pitch black.
You missed it. It was hilarious, John.
I should have said Warhol.
Oh, you got to see this. Oh shit! I fucked it up.
Well, if you wanted to complete that thought, John, you're more than welcome. I don't remember what we were talking about this one. All right, so Jason, getting across the live experience, for people that weren't there, because there's, maybe people became fans after 2016 or whatever, right? Or they never got a chance to see the band.
Yeah.
Well, I was mentioning your friend Marty there in Milwaukee.
Yeah, who is kicking it around in
telling
chat?
me I never got the chance to see you guys. He was too young or not anywhere nearby a show. So.
Yeah, it happens.
Well, that's why you should go see Dead Bob when you get it, if they come through your neck of the woods, because they're about the closest you're going to get. But it's very close to the energy, I would say, and definitely the musical chops for sure. I don't know.
I'm tuned in right now, he says, by the way.
Oh, there he is. Is that him right there?
That's Marty. Yeah. I have a tendency to ignore the chat completely while speaking to get away from that, get to that animated dancing bear in the screen conversation from visual distractions.
I think it's, to answer your question, Conan, I think it's impossible.
How do you
get across what the live show was like in a printed book? I think, I mean, if you think I did in some ways, then thank you. But you can only have so many people say, "Oh, they blew my mind and they pasted me against the wall and like it was the craziest show I'd ever seen and they were so tight and it was all those things you can read, but unless you were there, you can't really describe that kind of experience other than having the experience. You can watch the videos, and if you never got to see No Means No live, there's plenty of stuff out on YouTube. gives you a pretty good impression of what it was like. But sadly, it was something you had to experience or not. And the other thing is, I always thought it was weird to like. I started feeling almost guilty because, like, in order to really appreciate the book, you should just listen to No Means No the entire time you're reading the book. Like, listen,
Sure,
even start chronologically. Maybe I think, and probably some obsessed fans have done this already. But like, start with the Wormy single and work your way all through the albums right to the end as you're reading. And that would probably be a pretty cool way to do it.
I was actually listening to the People's Choice when I was reading it.
There you go.
Before I apparently accidentally deleted my digital copy.
Oh dear. I can send you one.
I'll buy the damn thing. It's okay. I'm happy to do it. I just don't know how I did it. I'm like, how did I? What? This is like when every time you buy someone a Kindle or something, that's their greatest fear. It's like, hey, what happened to it? I was reading that.
Yeah. Well, but this is a good opportunity, maybe for me to plug Alternative Tentacles as well.
Sure, absolutely.
Because Wrong is now out. I think it's been shipped. The advanced copies are out, and
cool.
And Alternative Tentacles being really the whole reason why we were even having this conversation was that we got on with the Jello and AT. Debbie Gordon and Ruth Schwartz with More Damn Records came out to see us in '86, I guess, and that's really how we were able to make records and put them out. And Jello is very much hands off in a way. I don't know what he was with other bands, but as far as us, it's like, here's our next record. Not like, oh, you should. Can you write Wrong again? Like
right? Yeah, we like that one. That's one
we like that one. Can you just do that again? Like
every
other
keep doing that one.
Table, right? It's like so. We had the freedom to do, which of course drove everyone crazy. You tried to manage the band and all that, but
sure.
And now they're. Fully engaged in getting all this catalog out again, and so hopefully, one day you'll be able to have your library from beginning to end if you're a big super fan and want it all. Trying to make it all available again, and maybe some other, like I was talking about. It's the whole thing about being a nostalgia band really doesn't appeal to me at all, and yes, I'm proud of all the records we did, and I would like them to be back in print, and AT was the best home, but it's all music from 40 years ago.
Long time ago, yeah.
A long time ago. And Dead Bob, for instance, this is all new music. This is music from now. I mean, yes, some old songs, but new to the world. So the whole idea of how releasing No Means No's catalog, but also trying to keep something fresh about it, compiling some old stuff, but with, I was talking about, for instance, Jason, all this fan art that was out there and never in the book. Maybe we could do a release with a whole new set of artwork and have compile a live record of the best of live recordings, and the artwork is all fan artwork. You know what I mean? It's like,
I know what you mean. I've been bugging you about this for 4 years, John.
Yeah, there you go. See, occurred to me
check out this idea I just had.
Honestly, that's a really great idea, John.
For a while,
I think you're really onto something there. I really do. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. But and it sounds like there's more than enough material, right? So yeah, go ahead.
Well, it's just awesome. About being trying to still be fresh and exciting, and Dead Bob is like, we'll see how it goes, but like I don't want to be in the old punk rock nostalgia circuit or whatever. It's like this is new music, and that's what's exciting me about doing it. And but playing some old No Means No songs, the ones that we can do that are appropriate, and it's all a good thing too.
I think that I think you already are doing this, and I think you can do this. I think you can, at this point now, easily strike a nice balance between all of it. Like, No Means No has been retired long enough now. Dead Bob is fresh, and I know that you're sitting on at least 2 or 3 or more albums that are basically done and just need to be baked in the oven or whatever. That you're living in the now, doing new stuff, but there's nothing wrong with giving the fans, the No Means No fans, other stuff that maybe they couldn't get before, or they could, and now it's impossible to find because it's $400 on eBay or whatever.
Yeah.
I really think there's a place there for where everybody can be happy, and there's no one is going to accuse you of, you can't sell out anymore because not even a band. You know what I mean?
Too late. Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
I don't
shit.
know. I think that
Really?
I
We can't
don't
tell.
think
I'm
that-
ready.
I'm finally ready.
Hey, I changed my mind.
Yeah. That check's still good. Yeah.
But some of that fan art is really cool, and I do want it to see the light of day in some way for sure. So I think that's
Sure.
kind of awesome. Yeah, like I think there's a lot of potentials out there for cool shit to happen with you guys.
Well, there's an appetite for it too, right?
Yeah.
Like there's always going to be the ability to get new people on board as well, just by nature of things existing. And again, Dead Bob being an active band that is writing and recording music as well. Both those things can exist synchronously. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like, speaking of Springsteen was invoked earlier, I always talk about Glory Days, like punk rock people doing like their version of Glory Days, where it's like, oh, great. Tell me more about how great it was back in the day, huh? Wonderful. What about now? Nothing? Nothing? Okay, cool. Like, I get tired of that personally, but like whatever.
Yeah,
that's
so right. Yeah.
You don't. It doesn't mean that like the power of the music is going to be dated at all, because especially when you have like all the recordings. I know you were when we talked last time that you were not super stoked on which one Sex Mad that record. Hold on a second.
Yep. The production of it, you mean?
Yes.
Oh,
sorry.
yeah,
I was trying to not cough on Mike the entire time terribly. But then at the same time, it's like I can't think of that record sounding any different necessarily. And it doesn't sound of its time.
That's kind of what I mean about the musician's perspective and the fan's perspective.
Right.
It's like you just hear it for what it is. I hear it for what it could have been, or what I think it should have been, or what it might have been, or what I originally thought it was. And, it's like you're all close to it, and you have an entirely different perspective. But it is what it is. Let's be like, there's nothing wrong with that album. It sounds great. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Move on. But we talked about Gang of Four Entertainment, right? That's an almost objectively weird sounding record. And then when they, when the principal folks got back together in the early 2000s, actually re-recorded some of those songs, and it sounds more like a band in a room, and it was cool, but it's almost like, I almost wanted to sound weirder.
Yeah.
Like I almost wanted to sound more like not the way a band is supposed to sound, because I'm just used to hearing it that way.
Exactly.
But I guess what I'm driving at with that is like it doesn't take away from making new music and doing the things you're doing with Dead Bob, which is not, there's a through line through No Means No, don't get me wrong, but it's its own entity to be able to have the kids, TM, kind of get turned on to these records, right? Like it's still, and things can happen in different ways. Stuff that like maybe you wouldn't have thought of as being like in the upper echelon of the work or whatever can strike a chord just because it's a new audience with new context that we can't possibly hope to understand. And that's the lovely thing about music.
You know that old joke in the 70s where it was like the kid talking to their parents saying, "Hey, did you know that Paul McCartney had a band before Wings?" And, like I could almost see Dead Bob. Dead Bob is so good that maybe in a few years,
the Dead Bob guy had another band. Have you heard about this?
You're gonna get fans going, "I love this Dead Bob band." I heard that the drummer was in a different band before or something. Is that true?
I have literally, not on that level, but I've literally seen that happen and be like, "Oh boy, are you in for a ride, kid?"
Right.
And that's great. There's something wonderful about that because it's the act of discovery, right? Like for people that genuinely care about music, cross generationally, that when you make a connection with something, it's deep and powerful, and it matters beyond just the experience of the music itself. It's transformed into identity in many cases. And that's why Peace and Love, one of the first things I heard of when there was going to be a NoMeansNo book, I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Because the first thing you think of is when those things are kind of like, don't get that experience. So I was like, all right, I could see where that would be good. Let's cross fingers. and it's good.
Worried.
So there you go.
I was worried that, first of all, I was worried it wasn't going to be good. And also I was worried that I would get people pissed off at me for...
Oh, they would be, yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But they would be pissed off at me if it was bad. But not just that. I was worried about, like, ruining the mystique of the whole thing by actually, like, telling the truth about some of this stuff.
Pulling back the curtain.
Or the bathrobe.
Yeah, it's the wizard behind the machine.
Right.
So far, so good. Everyone seems to be okay with it.
I think it strikes a good balance. And that can be really difficult to do because I feel like expectations for audiences have changed, where the art and artists are now like one unified entity, whether you want it to be or not. And, that's a fraught topic in and of itself. But the idea of the art standing on its own for itself is very important, but it's more difficult to pull off now if there isn't already a legacy of some kind behind it. And again, whether it be through, pure obsequiousness or, any kind of planned effort, there was always kind of just, as I said before, you were kind of forced to focus on the music. There was no other choice. There was no like centerfold to look at of pinup to put on the wall necessarily.
Thank God. You see these guys?
That would have been hilarious, though. Yeah.
Well, one of the things I really like about this video, this fella's doing, and is we're not in it. There's no band members. It's just all coming out of his head, and it's really cool. And this, of course, brings us to 2024. It's not 1984 anymore. It's 2024, and this is what Dead Bob being a new band, as new as I can make it. But it's a whole other, like you're saying, Conan. It's the whole music industry, of course, has completely changed. It was already pretty much changing before NoMeansNo retired, but I have to be in this world, podcasts, and we need content. You have to engage in this whole other way of how music is delivered and how people experience it. And okay, so how do I control that environment? I can control the shows, which is how 95% of the experience of fans was just because they came to a show. That's how we reeled them in, so now it's like, okay, how am I going to use these mediums to engage with people? And it's not the same. It's not going to be the same approach, except as we talked about as a band, it's like the bottom line is when you show up in someone's town that we're not a good band, we're a great band, and that the musical experience is the same as for instance, as a NoMeansNo fan had gone and seen us, they come out, oh, what Dead Bob going to be like? That they walk away with the same feeling of like having the performance does the magic, and that's regardless of all the social media and videos and interviews and all that. It still boils down to that. It still boils down to a bunch of monkeys getting in a room and making some noise, and everyone being engaged. That's the most important thing, which is why a lot of this other stuff is so distracting. Just the business of music, and it always has been. The distraction from the most important thing is which is performing the music.
No, well said, and I feel like there's filtering, right? And I'm happy that I hear from people all the time that listen to this show and they like, hey, I found out about this band and this record because your show. Thanks, I love it. I'm like, great, awesome.
Yeah.
I heard people that didn't know Dead Bob was a thing until you were on last time, and then they're like, hey, this Dead Bob
Exactly.
record's great.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know, that's why he's on.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Well, the ocean it's just gotten so much bigger now.
Right, and there's more of the best. There's more of the worst, and there's a whole lot more in between. It comes down to
more of everything.
more of everything.
And it's, at least for me playing music, I'm not starting from square one. There's fans out there.
Yeah.
So that of course makes round two a little more easier than round one was.
Good point. Yeah. But Dead Bob's legitimately really good. Like, I mean, I saw 3 of the shows. You guys only did still. What's the total now? You've done 9 or 10?
9 shows. That's it. That's all we've done.
Yeah, when we were on May of 2023, I don't think I think you'd maybe done 1, like or something along those lines, right? It was real early on.
Doesn't start till the fall.
Yeah. First show was November 26th.
That's right, because I remember I saw
November
some pictures
16th. Yeah,
that's right, and I was very excited.
But they are, and not to be, I don't want to be too cheesy here, but like we're talking about, John Wright of NoMeansNo. So like he's not going to do, and I know you're right there. I know you're right. I know you're right there. But he's not going to put out a product that's going to be inferior to what his standards are, right? And that's one of the reasons why NoMeansNo was so great. Was John and Rob and everybody's level of what they wanted to get across. And so that hasn't changed just because it's a different year and it's a different band, and they're fantastic. And to be weirdly cheesy, like that was why the book had to be good. Like I could not put out a shitty book. Yeah. That kind of, haphazardly did some thing about NoMeansNo because I knew that it needed to be done right because there's a quality that's expected. Does that make sense? That sounded a bit.
Oh yeah, you never work in this town again.
Okay, never mind. I don't know.
No. I mean, it's a responsibility, right? And as much as it's an opportunity, it's also a responsibility to get it right because you want to get it right. And I think you did. I think it's great. I mean, it's like I said, my first reaction was uh-oh.
Yeah, I know.
But that's
everybody's was, I think.
Yeah, it's and then I questioned why I reacted that way, and then I was like, well, because it may not be good. And then I was like, well, it seems like the way this dude's approaching it seems pretty interesting. And then I forgot all about it.
Yeah,
and then I was like, oh, it's done. Great. Yeah. Hopefully, it's good.
There you go.
Just like when this show ends. Oh, hopefully it was good. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, but it's again, and when you have a band that is such a part of people's lives and a part of people's identity to a certain degree, it seems like it gives you some pressure. So it's nice that you did it. Last thing, I know you guys were running around with Steve Turner. How was that?
Oh, we haven't done that yet. It starts tomorrow.
Oh, is that it? Okay, cool. Fantastic. So you are going to, so let's change tense. Although it depends on when people engage with this. If they engage with it later, maybe it will already have happened. But that's
if you're watching this live, this timeline makes sense. But no, tomorrow, Tuesday, the 6th, John's coming down to Victoria and Steve Turner is coming up from Portland. He just texted me a couple hours ago to say he's in Bellingham. He's on his way. And we're going to do a book event at a place called Bowl and Books, which is the big, one of the big independent bookstores here in town. And they do a good job of stuff. And we're going to do a little kind of chatty thing with maybe some Q&A with the audience and the signing of the books, the NoMeansNo book. And then because Steve Turner wrote a book called Mud Ride about it's his memoirs of being in Mudhoney and Green River and all those other bands that he's done his whole life. It's a great book. I read it when I was in Mexico last week. Anyway, and then the next night we're heading over to Vancouver to do the same thing at Neptune Records, which is an awesome record store in Vancouver. And Grant Lawrence from the Smugglers, and he's a broadcaster. we're not supposed to say where he works. It's this weird little rule that they have.
It's like, we're trying to promote here, man. Come on.
I know. But
It's a
great guy.
national thing. It's a federal thing.
It's a federal thing. It's the
No.
national
It's a federal
broadcaster.
thing.
Like the corporation.
Can I tell you?
Yeah.
I completely get it, and that is literally all I will say about it. But I completely understand. I just think it's funny. But
It's ridiculous because it's actually a taxpayer-funded thing. I don't know why we can't mention it, but anyway. That said, he'll be moderating the thing on the Wednesday night in Vancouver. And I have a little birdie told me that Nardwar, the human serviette,
that guy,
will be there in all his glory, and probably gonna interview these dudes as well. So it's gonna be quite the fun little thing. So yeah, we're doing a little 2-nighter thing with Steve. I don't know if that'll turn into more stuff down the road or whatever, but we'll see. Steve seems like a really super nice guy. I've talked to him a couple times, and it should be fun.
it seems like a thing that makes sense. You know what I mean? Where it's like I don't necessarily.
It weirdly does, because even though Mudhoney and sorry to interrupt you, but Mudhoney and NoMeansNo are from different worlds, but also not really. There was a lot of crossover there. They were both playing the same venues in Seattle around the same time, and
oh yeah, we were part of a big burgeoning explosion of music in Seattle, and
exactly.
we were coming at it from different directions, but yeah, definitely a product of the late 80s.
For sure. And I think it makes sense that it kind of works together. And actually, another reason that's happening, by the way, Conan, is that Steve got help writing his memoir with a dude named Adam, who lives here in Victoria. It was a very weird set of circumstances. Yeah. Adam's son goes to the same high school as my son. They're in band together, and so I met him randomly,
nice.
And he was like, "Oh, anyway." So yeah, it's happening.
Small world.
Weird.
It's all connected, people. It's all connected. No, I think that's lovely.
It all revolves around Victoria.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. You should call up Chris Murphy when you hit Toronto. I bet he'd do something.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah, absolutely.
Just
he should write a book if he hasn't already.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good. He keeps busy. He's one of those guys that keeps busy. Cool. I mean, anything else that we didn't talk to? First of all, Jason, like, don't go to Amazon, right? Like, if you don't have to, don't go to Amazon.
Some people have to, and Amazon serves its purpose.
Yeah, it's fine.
But and you can get the book.
You need 8 pounds of fertilizer and a NoMeansNo book. Great, go for it. But
yeah, and if you like things coming in a cardboard box that is 8 times as large as the product inside of it, go for it. But
one of those plastic things that clean out your bathtub drain, like, okay,
exactly,
wonderful. We'll get all those things at the same time.
That's right. I bought a pair of tweezers, and it came in a box that like a dishwasher would come in.
Size of your head, yeah. Exactly.
But Amazon is good for some people who live in like smaller towns and places that can't get it. But that's
But if you're in a position to support an independent retailer or outfit,
this is PM Press. Yeah, PM Press has good distribution literally all over the world. So if you have a favorite local bookstore that carries new books, chances are almost guaranteed they can probably order that book in for you.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's how you should do it. And if not, you can order directly from PM Press at their website or other large booksellers that aren't Amazon, like Barnes and Noble and Indigo, and like I think in UK, Waterstones is one. They're big companies too, but they're not they're not Jeff Bezos.
Yeah. And you wanted I once ordered what I thought was a 6-pack of macaroni and cheese, and it was a 60-pack of macaroni and cheese because it was so cheap, and I was like, that is so much macaroni and cheese. I don't know how many eat all this.
It sounds like you're complaining about this, though. I don't understand.
I mean, it's a good problem to have. We have touring bands at our place. It's like, hey, who wants macaroni and cheese? Plenty for all. Fantastic. And so I'll put the link for that in the show notes too, so folks who listen to the podcast can check it out and again support people that are not trying to build a rocket ship or whatever the hell that guy's up to. I don't know.
Right.
Oh God.
He knows what he's doing these days. John, any Dead Bob stuff coming up you can talk about?
Yeah, just since the last time I talked to you, of course, everything is now in motion in the sense that we've been out, played some shows here in British Columbia. We're going across to Winnipeg in March. We got 14 shows in March, all in Canada for now, but we're coming down to crossing the border, heading south in the middle of May. So for any of your listeners that are on the western side of the great
There are many.
country of states of America,
Great country, air quotes. Yeah.
the big,
Loose
we're going
coalition.
to where nobody lives.
right, exactly.
We're avoiding all those places where all those Americans live. We're just,
Yeah.
No, we're heading down. Hopefully, at the Punk Rock Bowling will be kind of the middle show centered around that. So a few weeks before and a few weeks after. And so any of your listeners out in California, all your friends in San Francisco, I think we're playing the Great American Music Hall again.
Nice,
I'm hoping.
nice. That's one of my favorite venues in the U.S.
Yeah,
so
it's one of
lovely.
my favorite venues too. And I saw that name pop up, so hopefully that's where it's happened. I don't have any exact details now, but in the May, June, Dead Bob will be down stateside. And when we can get out to the Midwest and of course points east, you'll hear about it. And AT, all the NoMeansNo back catalog is now starting to flow. So that's a good thing.
The spice
And
of the back
hopefully I'll be
catalog
doing
will
more
both
of this
flow.
stuff with Jason. It's been fun to chat about the book. So we'll do some cross-pollination here with the promoting all the stuff that's going on. It's pretty exciting, really. This
It is,
a lot
man.
of hot irons at the moment.
Hot iron.
It's true.
Hot iron.
Yeah.
We all love those.
Any so folks can be a lookout for that stuff. What's the best way for folks to be getting if they want a physical Dead Bob record? What's the best way
Physical
for-
debt. Well, that's another thing on the list. Is still figuring out a label for ourselves. Possibly Alternative Tentacles, possibly some others. We haven't made a choice, and not that they're beating it down any doors.
It's a bidding war, I hear.
We have to actually go out and force people to make choices. No, we're working on it.
Fantastic.
All right, so you're putting out our album now, right? Yeah.
Right, yeah. So you're doing it. You can do it, right? Right,
Yeah, well,
can
you
do
know,
it. Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's still people are getting a chance to see us. So the more we play, right now I'm making records just to sell off stage.
Sure.
So I got another batch. Ford Peer, who is a keyboard player, he works for Red Cat Records and in Vancouver, a very good, successful independent record store. So he's he's kind of he's been sending a few off to some of the other stores, dribs and drabs in Canada. But yeah, that's another issue we got to sort out. Get it. And the next record's ready, or almost. So
Fantastic.
We
I
need
mean,
to
yeah,
get
like
some
I go ahead.
I've heard most, if not all, of the new record, and it's really fucking good.
I believe you. I mean, I named Lifelike as one of my favorite records of the year last year. I do an end of the year favorite records
Well, thank
show,
you.
and it's on there because it was one of my favorite records. So there you go. So there you
That's
go.
awesome.
Thank you so
You're
much.
gonna get that Protonic bump, is what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Man, we just sold 2 extra copies.
And
Wow.
it's, speaking of the difference between Amazon and local bookstores,
Yeah.
if you don't need a vinyl or whatever, go to Bandcamp.
Sure.
and-
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
And throw a few bucks at Dead Bob on Bandcamp instead of Spotify, because it is better.
Yeah, absolutely.
think
I hear Bandcamp's been purchased yet again by somebody else. So I wonder what the future of Bandcamp is looking like.
Yeah. Well, it's still the only way I ever see the appreciable money myself. So
Yeah.
I'm
No,
still on it.
I have to shout out to all those folks that have bought Dead Bob's record on Bandcamp. It was another sort of not weird, but it was
Nice.
nice. It's surprised, like, oh well, I'll probably sell a few, but yeah, it's the response has been amazing, and people are, especially those that fork out more than you ask.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. No,
That's always great. And so, yeah, a big thanks. And that's, those are the NoMeansNo fans, I think, on the most part. So got to brush up.
Marty chiming in.
Songs.
The day the record came out, the first thing I did before I even had a cup of coffee was buy the Bandcamp digital. So
there you go.
Marty's one of the good ones. Yeah, absolutely. So that's fantastic. Yeah, keep me appraised of any other activities. I'm like I said, I'm gonna go straight to Amazon and buy 60 macaroni and cheese boxes and buy the book. No, I'm gonna get it from the better retailer. It really is a lot of macaroni. We still have some of it left, by the way.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
Any other things that we didn't get to? Any closing thoughts or anything along those lines?
I'll probably be at Punk Rock Bowling too. PM has a booth there every year, and I think I might even be doing something with the Punk Rock Museum while I'm down there in Vegas as well. Melanie, who runs that with Fat Mike, is friends of mine and friends of John's as well. So I will also be doing some kind of a thing in the Western States, I believe, at some point with the book, and whether it coincides well enough with Dead Bob that we can kind of cross over there. I think it will a bit, maybe, hopefully.
Sure.
But I'll remain to be seen. Yeah.
All right. Very good. All right. That's a lot of activity.
Well,
I'm exhausted just hearing about it. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Appreciate having you both on.
Conan.
I can't wait to finish reading the book.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll go buy a copy right now so I can do that.
Looking forward to making it to Wisconsin and be able to
holler at your boy.
Say hello in person.
Yes, absolutely. Please do that. I would love that. I look forward to not if, but when that happens.
There you go.
Cool. Right. I'll see you tomorrow, John.
Yeah, well, I'll see you tomorrow, Jason. Okay. Thanks, Conan.
Yeah. Gentlemen, take care.
Good night.
Thanks, Conan.
There they go. John Wright, Jason Lamb. That was great. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I will put the link to the book in the show notes, as mentioned. And let's close out here with the song first. Why don't we do? Actually, no. Let's do so. You know what? I know what I'm gonna do. We're gonna go out with one of my favorites here, and did I do this last time? Maybe I did this last time. This is one of the reasons why I usually pick this stuff ahead of time. But anyway, so the name of the book, which I realized I didn't mention that much, is From Obscurity to Oblivion in Oral History. Jason Lamb, Paul Prescott. It's forward by Fred Armisen, afterward by a little band called W. Buzz Ryan. It's really good. Highly recommended. Highly recommended. Go get that and report back and show your work. Anyway, let's go. This is The River, and it goes a little something like this.
Well,
I am alone with you.
One of many parts of one. That's Dead Bob. That's off of Lifelike. So One of You is actually the name of the song. But it's off of the Lifelike record, which was on my tops of the year last year. And you should definitely check out if you haven't already. deadbob.bandcamp.com, or get it on all the other things as well. Of course, before that, we had The River, No Means No. You probably heard of that one. You can find that on your local internet. And No Means No back catalog, getting some reissues wrong, especially. Book is No Means No, From Obscurity to Oblivion, an oral history. Put a link into the show notes, so go get that. If you please. Name of the show is Conan Protonic Reversal. Thank you so much for listening to it. The show airs usually Thursdays, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific. Streaming live on YouTube and Twitch. Podcasted later everywhere. Always free, no ads, no sponsors, no kidding. ProtonicReversal.com for those archives. Remember, if you like the show and you want to get episodes sooner, you can do so very easily by Go to patreon.com/Protonic Reversal. $1 a month for advance access will achieve the goal of supporting this show and getting those episodes sooner. There's going to be a lot more. There's a lot more going on. I'm stepping up production. So if you haven't already, now's a great time to join.
50,000 watts of power.
What do we got next? Jay Robbins, Jawbox, and Jay Robbins Band
Ionize the air.
coming on again for the first time in a very long time this Thursday. After that, Peter Prescott, Misha Burma, Volcano Suns,
This microphone
Steve Turner of Mudhunter
turns
after that. So
sound
it's stacked.
into
It's stacked mud.
electricity.
Thank you so much for listening to the show. Appreciate it.
Can you hear me now?
Share it around if you can.
Out
Stay
on
safe out there.
Route 128, you're dark and lonely.
Check you later.
I got my radio on. Can you hear me now? 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 See in the radio. And that snare drum and that drum roll means we've got a winner. If you're the fifth caller, or any caller at all, welcome to my top 10. I'd like to thank our sponsor. But we haven't got a sponsor. Not if you were the last man on earth. She was prepared to prove it. This one goes out to a special girl. But there is no special girl. It's the end of radio. The last announcer plays the last record. The last what? Leaves the transmitter. Circles the globe in search of a listener. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Is it really broadcasting if there's no one there to receive? It's the end of radio. As we come to the close of our broadcast day, radio. Can you hear me now? This is a test! If this had been a real emergency,